Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to teach you the technique called how you can create classes inside your C++ program, and after that how you can call those classes inside your Python script. And this technique is really used by most of the software developers at their work. For example, if they're working on a big project and they will divide the task of the project in between the team, and some of the members of the team like to write code in C++, but some of the members of the team like to write code in Python. But in the end they need to communicate with each other's code, and also they need the result from each other codes for further development. That's why this technique is really beneficial for them, and this technique should also be beneficial for you, and you must have to learn this technique. And before starting over to this tutorial, if you are new on my channel, please don't forget to press the subscribe button, and also don't forget to press the bell icon to get the updates of the new uploads. Now we will move over to this tutorial. For this you need to open your terminal, and first you need to open your application where you can write code for your C++ and Python. So I am going to use the Visual Studio Code. So here's my application, and as you can see I have already created three files. One is the C++ file and the other two are Python files. So first of all we are going to create a class inside of a C++ file, and after that we will create the object of that class inside our Python script here. And after that, by using that object we are going to call the member functions from the C++ class, and after that we will store the results from these member functions inside our Python variable, and then we will use it for further development. So to create a class inside our C++, first of all we need to include some important libraries, and I'm going to use the iostream library here, iostream. And this library is really useful actually to create some variables inside your C++ program, and also to show the output from those variables. Next, to create a class you need to type class here, and the name for the class, and the name for my class is example. And the next you need to write two curly brackets and the colon here. And there are two things inside the class. One is the private and the other one is the public keyword. And the private is the thing, whatever you write under this private keyword, it will can be only visible by this class, but you cannot use these variables or member functions uh, outside from this class. But whatever variable or member function you create under this public keyword, it can be visible inside this class, and it can also be visible outside from this class. And you can use those member functions inside your main program, and also you can call those member functions or use those member functions from other classes. And this is the thing about private and public keyword. Next we will create a variable inside our private keyword, and I'm going to create a value here. And the next thing, we need to create some methods under this public keyword. And first of all we need to create the constructor for this class, and I'm going to write example. And we are usually going to use the constructors actually to initialize our variables, and we have one variable here, value, and to initialize it we have to pass the integer type of input argument here. Next we need to define our destructor for the class, and the destructor is really useful actually to destroy the object of the class. And here we need to write this thing, and it has no input argument as here. And the next thing, we need to write some get and set methods to actually communicate with the private members of this class. And for this I'm going to create a void type of get method and having no input arguments, and it will just simply only print the value of this variable. Next we need to type the set method, and this set method is actually we are going to use it set the new value for this variable, and it will also return this new value here. And next we need to write the definition for each of these functions. So I'm going simply copying it here and paste it here outside of the class, and I am going to write the definition of this member function outside from the class. And then you need to write the name of your class here and this thing, and this means actually from this class you are going to call this member function here, example. And then you need to repeat this thing for each of the member function. And here you need to type here and here and here. And also you need to remove the colons here, and you need to put the curly brackets here. Here first we are going to fill this member function, and in this member function we are going to initialize our variable here, value, and we are going to initialize it with an variable. And for this you need to type value equals to, and that's it. And the next thing, in destructor actually uh, it will delete the object of the class and it will call itself, or we can call it whenever we need to destroy our object of the class. And the next thing is the get method, and inside our get method actually we are going to print the value of this variable. For this you need to type std out, and we can also type here value from C++, and that's it, and the value itself here, and std end line here. That's it. And the next thing, in the set method we are going to set the new value for this variable here, so you can simply type value equals to new value, and you can also write new value here. That's it. And next, this function is also returning of something type integer, so you can return the new value here. That's it. And next thing is, we are done with the class here in C++. Next thing, we are going to create the object of that class inside our Python script, and next we are going to call these member functions from our Python script using the object. And first of all, we are going to use the library inside our Python program, which is called ctypes. And the thing with ctype is actually it can only communicate through the shared libraries called DLL libraries or .so library in Linux, and it can only be able to communicate through the DLL libraries in Windows, and it can only communicate in the C format. So the next thing, we need to build a C wrapper around the C++ class. For this we need to type here extern C and here, and the next thing, we need to create a C wrapper around the C++ class. Actually we are going to call each of the member functions inside of C++ class, actually inside our C format. So first of all, to call these member functions, we need to actually uh, create the object from that class, and then we will be able to call those member functions inside our extern C format. And for this we need to, first of all, to call our first function, we need to write here example as it is, and we need to pass the input argument, the same input argument here int end, and we need to create the object of the class to communicate to actually call the member functions from this method. And again we need to here we need to return new from this class, and the object here, the constructor here, and the constructor here with one argument n, and you can simply pass this and here. That's it. This is how you can write your constructor here in C. And the next, we need to write the call the destructor, and to write the destructor here in C. And for this you simply need to type the void and the name of your destructor here, and we can simply name this function here destroy an example, and it will destroy the object of the class. And for this you need to pass the object here obj, and we need to destroy this object. And for this you need to destroy this object, you need to see if this object is not equals to null. If this object pointer is not equals to null, so you can simply destroy or delete this object, delete object, and you can also put it equal to null. That's it. Here also it's null, null capital, and that's it. The next thing, we need to write the C wrapper around the get function, and for this you again need to type its return type is void, and you need to type the name of the member function get, and that's you need to call this function inside your C wrapper. For this you need to create an object for the class. For this you need to type the name of the class and the pointer here object, and by using that object, and we are going to call our get method, and you can simply see here get method, and that's it. And next we need to write our set method here, and for this you need to type the return type and set. And to call this method we again need to create an object here, and this set method also have one input argument, so you need to pass also here one input argument here new value. That's it. And the next thing inside this, we need to call this method. For this, you need to type here objects and call this method set. And inside this method, we have need to pass one input argument, and which is this new value here, new value, and it is also returning integer type. So you can type return here. That's it. This is how you can build a C wrapper around your C++ class. So the next thing, we need to create a shared library from this C++ file. For this, you need to open your terminal and type g++ minus f and capital PIC and minus shared and minus o, and the name for your DLL library, you can give it any name, and I'm going to give it lib example.dll. And the DLL, we need to create it in Windows, but in Linux you need to create .so files here, and in the last the name of your C++ file, and which is main.cpp. And next you can press enter. As you can see, it's successful, and a new file is generated which is called libexample.dll here. And now you can minimize your terminal and go your script.py, and the next thing, we will call this dll library, and then we will be able to communicate with this C wrapper here inside our Python script. So we need to import first of all C types to communicate this C format library, and for this we need to create a handle. And next we need to load our library. For this again you need to type C types dot cdll and dot load library, and to load the library you need to call your current directory and the name of your library, which is lib example.dll. That's it. The next thing, we need to build a Python wrapper around this C wrapper, and for this you need to create a class. You can simply type class here and you write the name for the class example, and you need to pass the object inside the class. You can simply type object, and the next thing, we need to define some these functions again and build a Python wrapper around each of these functions. So our first function is example, and that's it. So first of all, in the class we need to define initialize our constructor. For this you need to type init, and you need to remove this because we don't need it, and also this one here. And this init function has one input argument which is n, and you can simply also pass a n or value. And the next thing, inside this function, actually we need to define the argument types for each of the functions, and we have also need to define the return type of each of the functions. For example, for the first function, we have one input argument and its type is integer, and its return type is of example pointer. So for this you need to go here and you need to type C types, handle, and you need to call your first function from C, and you can simply type its name here example, and dot its arg type, it's handle here handle, and now its argument types here, and this is the input argument, and its input argument is of integer type here. So you can simply define here, you need to put brackets here, and you need to type C types and C int. Its input argument type is integer, and if you have one more than one array variables, that's why you need to put brackets here, and you can also create one more than one variables here. But for now we have only one input variable here, and we have only one return type always. That's why uh, you don't need the brackets here, and its return type, for this you need to change here, and you need to type here rest type, and its return type is of here pointer of the class example pointer. For this you need to type here simply C void p. That's it. And you need to repeat this for each of the functions here. In total we have four functions. One is done, and this is the second, third, and fourth. And don't forget to format it properly in Python here. And the next thing, our next function is the destroy example. You can simply write here destroy example, and here also destroy example. And now go back to your C++ file and see here, its input argument is of example pointer, but it's returned nothing. So you can simply comment it this, and its input argument is of type pointer class, so you can simply see void p here, and you can simply repeat it for the rest of the functions. And our next function is the get here, get. And our get function is actually have one input argument, which is again the pointer type of class, and it has no return type. So you can simply put this here, and its return type is input argument type is of void pointer. That's it. And the next function is set, so you can simply call it here set and set. And its input argument is, there are two input arguments, one is pointer and the other one is integer, and it is also returning the integer here. So for this you need to type here two input arguments. The first one is of the pointer and the second one is of integer type. So for this, that's it. And its return type is also integer, so you can simply type here cint, and that's it. Next we are going to create the object from that class. For this you need to type here self dot object, and you need to call the constructor for this class, and you need to type here handle dot example. And in the constructor we are going to initialize our variable here, and you can simply pass this value here. That's it. And the next thing, our next function, we need to call our next function inside our Python script, and which is the destroy example. And to call it, you need to simply call def, and you need to write here destroy, and we are simply destroying the object here, and you can pass the self pointer here. And inside this we need to call our function, which is destroy example. And this function is actually have one argument here of pointer of the object, and you can simply pass here the object here. That's it. And again, the next function is the get function, and for this you can simply type here get and pass your self pointer here. And again you need to call your get function here from your C wrapper. And this get function is actually also need the object from the class, and that's it. And the next thing, we need to call the set function and set. And this set function have two arguments, one is the pointer and the next one is the new value. And that's it. And here you need to it, and it is also return some things of integer type, so you can return from this function. And also you can call this function here from C. We need to call our set function, and we need to pass two things, one is the object of the class and the second one is the new value. That's it. This is how you can build a Python wrapper around your C wrapper. And the next thing, we are going to use this class inside our next script. And for this, you can simply import the Python script from script, and we need to import the class, and you can simply write the class name here example. And next thing, we are going to create the object of the class. For this I'm going to just simply type object, and you need to call the constructor, which is example. And we need to initialize our variable, and I'm going to initialize it with 5 for example. And the next thing, we need to call our object dot get method. And next thing, to see the value of the variable here. And the next thing, we need to set the new value for the variable, and for this we need to call our set method obj dot set method. And inside this set method we pass a new value, and it is also return something. So it means you can store the output from this method inside your Python variable, and we can store it in val. And then I will show it here in print, and we can simply write here is from Python, and we need to print this value here val. And when you are done with the using of the class objects, so you can, in the end, you can simply destroy the object. For this you can simply call our function called destroy object, so it will destroy your object here, this object here. And that's it. If I am going to use again this object, and I am going to call, for example, I am going to call my get method again, object dot get. And you will see. And the next thing, we need to run this method and see the output. For this, open your terminal and type python, and the name is the test.py here. And when I will run, I have one problem here, which is the line 392 in our script.py line 22, and here it's with capital E, sorry, here. That's it. Now we need to run it again, python.py. As you can see, it ran successfully. So first of all, we call the object.get. It will print the value, we whatever we initialize it. So we initialize it with 5, so it will call our class, the member, the constructor from C++, and it will create a value from C++, and it will initialize it with 5. Actually, this member function here, get, and it will print the value for the value here. And the next thing is we are calling the set function, and we are storing it in Python variable, and we are displaying the value here. And the set variable, actually it set the new value for our variable 7, and it will store it in this, and you can see here Python and 7 here. And the next thing, we have destroyed our object, so it will free the memory of this objects. And the next thing, if I'm going to again call the get method, so it will return the garbage value because the memory was freed by this object. So this is how you can create classes in C++ and call it in your Python script. And this is for the today's tutorial. And the next thing, we are going to more complex methods. We are going to create more complex thing inside our C++ program, and let's see how we can use it inside our Python script. And see you next time. Bye bye.